Hi, everybody. Welcome back to CSCI 100, lecture 22. In this lecture, we're going to be learning about syntactic sugar. And I'll talk more about what that term means, but I want to make sure that today you come away with an understanding of how to use list comprehensions, how to use dictionary comprehensions using iterable unpacking, and how to use the ternary operator. Before we get into the technical details, a small aside and a small announcement. If this coming weekend you'd like to take a break from all of the coding assignments you have for my class, you can come and stop by the orchestra concert, the Howard Orchestra concert. It's happening this coming Sunday, November 21st at 4 p.m. And it'll be in Childers Hall in the recital room, which is room 3001. It's the room on the third floor. And it's totally free. So you can come by. Here's some works by Tchaikovsky and a few other composers, and just come say hello and support your orchestra. It's totally free, but only open for students and faculty and staff at Howard. So anyone with a Howard ID. Now, I want to talk about language expressiveness. When we think about human languages, there are all these ideas that we want to express, and a language is a way for us to kind of the things that we think or that we experience, we then try to translate into words to communicate to other humans. But an interesting side effect of this is that there are some things that language can't communicate, and then there are some things that some languages can communicate and others can't. And so you'll sometimes hear about these words that can't be translated into English, that are words from other languages. Here's an example of one, Schadenfreude. In fact, this is a word that's so useful but can't be really easily translated into English. It's a German word that it's even entered some of our English vocabulary. Sometimes people will use this word in English or in Russian or in other languages because they don't have a word to represent this thing. And what does it mean? So a fun fact you'll learn, well, Schadenfreude. Schaden is harm, Freude is joy. And so this word means a feeling of enjoyment that comes from seeing or hearing about the troubles of others. So this is a concept that we can express in English. In fact, part of a requirement of what makes something an actual language, if you're curious, is that it is infinite and that you can express new ideas using existing words. And so yes, we can somehow explain what this word means using other words in English, but it is much easier to express this idea with a single word that means this particular thing. Programming languages are exactly the same in that some languages are better at expressing some concepts than others. And there's not really, by the way, a universal language that is the best at expressing things. And that's why you see every kind of, in this class you're learning Python, in other classes you'll learn C++ or Java. Rust is becoming quite popular. Some stats people like to use R to do their analysis. There are all these different languages because each language is uniquely suited to expressing certain ideas. Many languages can express most ideas, but some languages have more concise ways to express those ideas than others. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You heard me use this term syntactic sugar. It's not an official term. It's not something that you'll be asked in an interview or that's mentioned maybe even in like the official guidelines for the language, but it's actually said quite often to describe any kind of coding constructs that are very pleasing. And why sugar? Well, okay, syntactic sugar. Syntax is the structure or grammar of our language. Sugar is sweet. And so syntactic sugar refers to these structures that make the code sweeter to look at, or to write, or just to express yourself. They feel good to use. Python in particular is known for providing lots of the syntactic sugar. For the most part, we haven't been using it very much because when you're learning the fundamentals, which you've been doing in this class, I want to make sure that you understand the constructs that appear across all languages. So these standard conditionals, like if blank, do this, else blank, or writing for loops, things like that. These happen in almost all languages. But today we're going to learn some additional constructs that you can use to write your code. I'll mention one more term here that you might hear. You might hear someone describe code as Pythonic, or the Pythonic way to do something. Python is a language that's all about beauty. And so many people think that kind of writing more beautiful code is more Pythonic. And how do you describe what's beautiful? Python likes concise code and simple code. And you'll see how the constructs we'll learn today will enable you to write more concise code. Finally, I'll just point out, when we talk about syntactic sugar, these constructs that we'll learn, they're not going to let you do anything you couldn't do before. You can already do all the things that we'll learn about today. Just the difference is that these constructs will make it easier to express certain ideas, and sometimes much easier than it is without them.